for today's video, I'm talking to you about everything you need to know when it comes to mob grinding. This video will cover absolutely everything. Before we jump into it, please drop a like right now, which is the big thumbs up button down below. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and let me know in the comment section if this video helped you. Now let's get in. Okay, so before we talk about grinding mobs, there are a couple of commands that you need to do. So the first most important one is /classes, and if you are planning to grind mobs, you're gonna want to click the Slayer class. I have a separate video explaining classes and proficiency tools, which I highly recommend going to check out to understand how this specific thing works. But essentially, if you then pick a Slayer class, you have the chance to increase the amount of mob drops that you get, which kind of acts as double mob drops, essentially. So Slayer class, do remember there is a 24-hour lockdown limit on this, so you can't put Slayer class and then swap to fishing 3 hours later. It's every 24 hours you can change your class. And then step 2 is the command /proficiencies, and in here you will see a Slayer blade and all the different levels. Again, I do have a specific video on this, but you're going to need to craft the rookie Slayer blade to begin with, followed by then upgrading rookie to amateur, amateur to professional, all the way up to eventually unlocking legend. In order to craft them, you can see the recipes in here. You need a standard netherite sword, and in order to get a standard netherite sword, you need to craft a diamond sword, and then in a crafting table, put your diamond sword with a netherite ingot, and that will give you your netherite sword. Once you have your Slayer blade crafted, again, as I've suggested, I do recommend trying to upgrade it to eventually having this one. Once you get to these 3, you unlock relic slots, which means that you can start to use relics. If I hover over my Slayer blade as an example, apologies, my screen is kind of off, but you can kind of see here, I haven't done a huge amount of mobs. I've only done 4.5k mobs right now. So my drop rate is 1 times 2, but these do go up, and once you kind of get to the times 3 100% drop rate, you'll see them go really, really fast. This is the command /skill tree, and over here there is a slaying skill tree. In here, the aim is to max this out. So you kind of click this one and then this one, and so on and so forth. Once you've unlocked it, you can see here the final upgrade for slaying. I do think this is important. It's definitely not as important as fishing, but it is important. If you do have all of your skill points set to something else, you can reset them. Again, that is a window of lockdown, so you can't just keep resetting this. I'm pretty sure it's 24 hours, but don't quote me on that. Is kind of the time frame of each time you can reset your points, but definitely try to max this out. So once we have done classes, we've got our tool, and we've also done our skill tree. A whole separate video on skill tree, but you need to do personal missions to max that out. The next thing you're going to want to do is the command /enchant on your Slayer blade. Now over here on the enchant shop, you can see different things that you can upgrade. Unfortunately, looting doesn't work this season because the ×2, ×3, ×4 drop rate, if I hover over my sword here, the more mobs that you grind, the quicker your drop rate will grow up. This is essentially your new looting level this season. Definitely make sure you increase your sharpness, definitely increase your unbreaking, but all of the other ones I haven't bothered because I don't think there's any point in them. However, there is a list of custom enchants for a sword, and in here I highly recommend some of these ones. The first and most important one is multi-kill. Now multi-kill is really, really good if you're planning to do mobbing. It's the most expensive book in game. You can get this from opening up an extreme book, but you can only get it to level 5. Once you have level 5, there is a mastery, which is this mining mastery here, and you can see you will eventually, if you unlock tier 7 of ancient debris, you can then craft a multi-6 book by doing the command /mcraft, putting it in here, and then upgrading that book. There is the recipe, so if I kind of scroll through here and show you, this is kind of how it looks. The ancient scrap is essentially normal netherite scrap, and then you craft it into ancient scrap. To get this, I highly recommend a servant, but if you don't have servants, then you can get it from mining, or again, maybe check auction house, because I'm sure some players will sell it as well. Next on the enchant list, I do also recommend Experian and Soul Hunter. Those are two additional ones that you have to craft. So Experian is the yellow colored one, and that requires an endstone mastery, and Soul Hunter is the extreme book. Again, to get the highest level possible, you will need to craft it with a redstone mastery. Other than those ones, then you might also choose Ethereal, which is the green one, as well as Jewel Strike. Those are some useful enchants. Again, if you click into this, you can kind of hover over and it tells you what you gain. So you gain things like haste and double damage. The next thing that you're going to want to know about, just the final thing on enchants actually, is preservation doesn't work this season. So don't worry about getting preservation this season, because the tool kind of has like auto preservation on. It's really weird this season. I'm thinking they might change it next season, but right now it's essentially unbreaking. So there's no point in that one. The next command that you're going to want to do is the command is upgrade. Now in is upgrades, if I scroll down, there is one for mob drops. I highly recommend maxing this out. With any island upgrade, they do scale based on the amount of island members you have. The more island members, the more it's going to cost. I also do possibly recommend upgrading the pet egg one, because if you upgrade this as you're mobbing, you have a higher chance of finding pet eggs. So it is also just a useful one to know about. So when it comes to mobs, and it comes to killing mobs and gaining all of the stuff from them, what you need to do is the command /spawners. And in here, it gives you the different tiers spawners, and this is what you want to work towards as a mobber. So if I hover over here, you can see what you need to unlock tier 2 spawners. So you start at tier 1. So these scale based on the amount of members you have. So my island currently has 4 of us, I think. So there's 4 island members in total. So these stats that you see on my screen are based on having 4 people for the island. They will be less if there's fewer people, and they will be higher if there's more members. But essentially, I need to buy 100 tier 1 spawners. In order to buy a tier 1 spawner, I just click tier 1, and in here it shows you the price. I always recommend going for the cheapest. You can add them in here, and as you can see, we need to add 100. You can only buy them in stacks of 64, so you'd buy this stack and then you'd go back and buy another. You also can then see how many tier 1 mobs you have to kill to unlock the next one. So in order to unlock tier 2 spawners, my island needs to kill 48,000 tier 1 mobs. And right now we've only done 15,000. As you can tell, we are not a mob island. We're not grinding mobs right now. But essentially, once that is done, then tier 2 spawners will kind of glow like the tier 1s are right now. And then it's the exact same thing. So you can see here for tier 2, I need to buy 200. I need to kill 240,000, so on and so forth. Now, tier 5 onwards are normally locked. Tier 5 has just unlocked this week, which means, you can start to buy them and grind them. These are the ones that are going to make you money. It is the wither skeleton spawners. So these are the ones that mobbers are using right now to make the most money. I will explain that in just a second. Tier 6, as we can see down here, there is a locked date. So once this date is down on the timer, that's when you can start to grind tier 6 spawners. In tier 6, husks are the most important spawners. And then tier 7, again, another locked date, but vexes is the ones that produce crazy money. Okay, after all of that, a couple of other boosters and things that you should know about. First of all, you've got your crystals and your totems. I think I have some totems somewhere. I don't have a mobbing one, but they kind of look like this, except it would say mob totem, or it might say slaying totem, actually. If I kind of search in auction house, I'll just search for the command totem. It's the red looking ones. Now with totems, you can see what they provide you. So an increase of XP by 50%, 0.25% chance to drop the condensed version, as well as the option to get crystals from that totem. Obviously the totem timers do increase, so there's some down here for 15, there's some for 45 minutes, and eventually as time goes on in the season, they will begin to have 1 hour long totems, etc. These are really good for mobbing, but again, they are expensive. To get a totem, you can get them from island missions, personal missions, crates, even dungeon shops. I have a whole separate video coming out on totems, so definitely keep your eyes out for that. If you have got a slaying totem and you manage to get a crystal, do the command /crystals and drop the crystal in here. It will be the ruby one for your slayer blade. As you can see here, it buffs up your proficiency, which helps your mastery tool much better. The next thing is relics. I have a separate video explaining all about relics and what they are, but you can do the command /relics and add them in here. You do need a certain proficiency tool in order to add relics to that. So that is a Experience onwards tool. After that, you want to do /traits and make sure that you have some really good traits for mobbing. Me personally, I highly recommend both Divine as well as Slayer traits. Those are the two most important ones when it comes to mobbing. 100% that is what you're going to want, at least a tier 3. After that, I recommend possibly either going for a sky coin or a soul trait. I think both of those would be good. You also have your personal traits, which is the command /attributes. And in here, there's also ones for mob slaying, which you're definitely going to want to try and get a hold of. Then you have /deboss, and in deboss, there is a whole set of deboss armor. Now in the past, champ armor has always been the best when it comes to mobbing because it has a double drop rate. I don't actually know if this works this season or not. If you do know, let us know in the comment section and I will pin your comment. But if that double rate doesn't really work, then what you're gonna want to try and use is definitely Colossal if you're grinding sky coins, because this provides a huge buff. You then have Ancient, which is a soul buff, which is also really, really good. When you can see here, you on top of that can have the chance to get a sky coin multiplier. On top of that, you then have an Experience one, which is also really good for mobbing because this will produce XP. When it then comes to actually grinding mobs, so for example, I need to give a shout out. I think the island owner is flying around here, Phantom, for letting me use their island. Their mob grinder is absolutely beautiful. But when you start to grind with the skeletons, you kind of come in, most islands will have them, but in here you can start to hit with the skeletons or any other mob for that matter. Now, as I'm killing the wither, you'll see the drops are going straight into my inventory. Now, what I recommend actually doing is the command toggle condense. Now, when you get that command in game where it's on, as I'm starting to hit, you'll see the timer down the bottom of screen. So the more that I'm killing, then the toggle condense is going up. And then essentially once it hits that, it gives you a condensed version. It sells for the same amount as it would if it was not a condensed version. It essentially just frees up your inventory space. You're not flooding yourself with mob drops is the best way to explain this. Again, something that I do highly, highly recommend. As you can see, I've really not mobbed because my swords are increasing levels like crazy. If I stop killing this mob, because I haven't reached that condensed level, as you can see in there, there's a bit of a timer on it, but if I haven't reached it, then it will eventually drop all of the normal items into my inventory. If your inventory is full, everything will then go into your /OF, which is your overflow. And in here, you'll be able to access and grab any items that you've got. The reason why these ones are so good is because eventually the more that you kill, the higher the mastery level that you get. And they start to drop nether stars, and nether stars do sell for a lot. you do this command /RS, they will eventually, hopefully, drop into RS, which is when the best time is when it comes to selling. Now, when you're grinding mobs, you're going to want to do the command /pets, and you're going to need some pets when it comes to mobbing. Now, I definitely recommend Silverfish, because a Silverfish mob is a Sky Coin booster. On top of that, you're most likely going to want to use the Zombie one, which gives you a really good XP booster. The Reaper one is also good for a soul booster. The Looting Pet, I don't believe the double drops works this season with Looting Pet. So the only time you're going to want to use a Looting Pet is when you're planning to sell the drop. What I mean by that is essentially as a mob grinder, you're going to come and you're going to sit and you're going to be clicking away for a couple of hours with toggle condense on, and then hopefully by the end of it, you're going to have a load of condensed nether stars. Now, I recommend keeping hold of them until it hits RS to then sell, and again, use your looting pet to increase your sell price. You've also got things like island sell boosters, which you get from island missions, which will help with a sell boost. And then on top of that, you're going to want to sell with a champ armor set. Now, if you don't have a champ armor set, and again, I do recommend it being buffed, but you do have a lot of condensed nether stars, what you're going to want to do is go to some top islands and see if they buy them. They normally buy them for more than what you actually sell for, which means that you're making a profit, but they're basically doing that because they have a buffed champ set, and that means they can sell it for a little bit more on top. So they're making a bit of profit as well as you. Definitely check out my island, which is IS Visit Amy Games, because we are also going to be setting up a shop for that. So you can basically sell your nether stars for more than what you would in a normal shop, but we will pay more, but we'll profit more because we have a champ set. So kind of see that. But again, if you're planning to grind the game, you might want to get your own champ set. It is pretty easy this season, especially if you have the Frag Finder relic, but I didn't say that. Now, a couple of other things to note about is mob hoppers. You can kind of see, I'm pretty sure this person had one set up on their island. Maybe I'm going crazy because I'm pretty sure I saw a mob hopper set up. But honestly, mob hoppers, I don't recommend them. They don't really give you anything. They're not that good. Everything goes into your overflow. That is pretty much it. They will drop heads. And honestly, I'm not going to say they're pointless, but they're not very good this season because we used to use the heads to craft our Slayer Blades. Essentially, all you're going to do is the command H token convert. It then converts all those heads into tokens, and then you can do the command H token shop. In here, you can either buy heads for decorational purposes, or you can buy boosters. You can buy personal or you can buy island. And in here, they're essentially Sky Coin or XP. They have different amounts of extra multipliers as well as lengths. So in here, you can see the costs of them. And you can see how many H tokens that we have, or I have, I should say. They are on a personal level. That was a lot to cover. Mobs has a lot to it. Essentially, my biggest takeaway tip is max out your sword. Make sure you've got a multi-kill 6 on your sword. Make sure that you're upgrading it to the highest proficiency tool possible. Make sure you have the classes set for slaying. And then essentially toggle condense on and start grinding wither skeletons. But if your island doesn't have wither skeletons unlocked, I recommend grinding that spawner level so that your island can then place down wither skeletons, because if you don't have them, you kind of get all these error messages, especially when it comes to husks and vex. If your island hasn't unlocked them, you can't place them down. It starts throwing all errors. So you kind of want to work your way through this and then eventually get to tier 5 and make sure you're grinding wither skeletons, and then you're going to be grinding husks, and then you're going to be grinding vexes. You're going to be keeping the drops until it hits RS, or you're going to go to a top island and sell them, or keep hold of them and sell them when it hits RS with a champ set and your looting pet and any other sell boosts that you can get your hands on. I hope this video helped you guys out. Please let me know in the comment section if it did. A huge shout out again to Phantom in the background for letting me use their island, because, you know, my island is not a mob grinder one, so we don't have anything to showcase. But thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comment section if this video helped. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in another video very soon, but goodbye for now.